I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Welcome to Deconstructing, where I take apart an iconic horror movie to find out what makes it tick. I have to admit, I have a thing for evil doll movies. As a kid, I used to have a severe phobia of dolls, but thankfully that fear was eradicated by my growing passion for horror movies. Today, I'm a born-again killer doll fanatic, and there's one movie in particular that really helped get me there. It introduced something missing from nearly every film about terrifying toys, and that's a devilish sense of humor, summoned by a savvy screenplay, animated by state-of-the-art effects, and a legendary vocal performance by one of my all-time favorite actors. Chances are pretty good if you're a fan of the amazing Brad Dourif, you're a Chucky fan too, because this homicidal mini-monster just wouldn't be the same without that voice.
Hi, Mikey!
Even if you're not a hardcore Chucky champion, you still know how deeply this good guy doll turned bad slashed his way into popular culture since he first came to supernatural life, courtesy of producer David Kirshner, screenwriter Don Mancini, and Fright Night director Tom Holland. Over the next few decades, the Chucky saga expanded into a trilogy, and then it morphed into camp comedy for 2 more films, and then it was revived in 2013 with a more menacing edge, which continues through the hit TV series, which, as of this recording, is just a few weeks away from its season 2 premiere. So what better time than now to revisit the birth of this slasher icon? As usual, I'll employ my 3-pronged deconstructing attack, beginning with Origin, detailing the Chuckster's evolution from script to screen. Then Legacy, where we'll examine the killer doll's enduring popularity as he enters the next phase of his career. And with Mystery, I'd like to dig through some obscure facts, behind-the-scenes stories, rumors, and trivia about this red-headed mini-monster. So join me as I open up and tinker with the inner workings of one of slasher cinema's most entertaining villains, as well as his grand entrance into the genre in the 1988 classic Child's Play. There's a pretty good reason so many of us get creeped out at the idea of toys coming to life. As little kids, our dolls, stuffed animals, action figures, they were our friends. We gave them names and personalities, we had conversations with them, we even huddled under the blankets with them at night. The idea that these same little friends could betray our trust and turn against us is pretty damn terrifying, no matter how old you are. Even Toy Story knows what might happen if we mistreat our little pals. There's also something inherently creepy in a monster that can hide just about anywhere in your bedroom, just waiting for you to fall asleep. That concept was all too real for producer David Kirshner, who had the same childhood phobia I did. Despite having a successful career producing children's entertainment like Strawberry Shortcake, speaking of terrifying dolls, Kirshner still clung to the idea of living toys rising up against their owners. After reading the novel The Dollhouse Murders by Betty Wren Wright, he decided to develop his own evil doll project. That led Kirshner to a screenplay by UCLA film student Don Mancini, titled Blood Buddy. Mancini's script expanded the whole concept, giving the pint-sized villain a malicious personality, much like Talkie Tina on that notorious episode of The Twilight Zone.
You'd better be nice to me.
In his original script, the doll was named Buddy, based partly on Hasbro's creepy real-life doll, My Buddy. In Blood Buddy, a boy actually brings the doll to life himself by mingling his blood with the doll's artificial blood in a friendship ritual. The doll then becomes a literal vessel for the boy's repressed anger. After considering several directors, Kirshner finally approached Tom Holland, who had previously scored a surprise hit with Fright Night. Kirshner felt the doll's rampage needed to come from an even scarier place. To that end, he and writer Don Lafia invented the character of Charles Lee Ray, alias the Lakeshore Strangler, a serial killer who dabbles in voodoo, including a ritual to transfer his soul into another body. When no living human is available in Charles's dying moments, he turns to the only alternative.
Mortis mel de vacord de rocher, adele porte boisse gembela.
And of course, course, the doll's name was changed from Buddy to Chucky to reflect Charles Lee Ray's nickname. You probably already know this, but it's an important part of Chucky lore. The name Charles Lee Ray was taken from three notorious criminals, cult leader Charles Manson and assassins Lee Harvey Oswald and James Earl Ray. A major part of Mancini's original story kept audiences in the dark as to whether Chucky was truly alive until much later in the film. But now that Holland and Lafayette had imbued the doll with the killer's evil soul, he wanted that personality to come out much sooner. So about halfway through the film, we get this classic moment.
I said talk to me, damn it, or else I'm gonna throw you in the fire!
You stupid bitch, you filthy slut! Did you fuck with me?
The script made the rounds of all the major studios, and Kirshner ultimately signed a deal with United Artists, but before the cameras rolled, there was the matter of bringing the killer doll to life on screen. That task fell to effects wizard Kevin Yeager and a large team of puppeteers, including specialists in electronic and mechanical effects who used every trick in the book and had to invent plenty of new ones. It took months of trial and error testing to come up with the most effective combination of techniques, including motorized full body movement, remote facial controls, and old-school rod puppetry. Tom Holland had worked previously with Brad Dourif in Fatal Beauty, where he played a villain with a similar twisted personality, so he was a natural fit. Dourif also played the part of Chucky in rehearsals to give the other actors a physical character to interact with, and his voice from these sessions would eventually be used as playback to sync up the puppet's performance. There's a bizarre story about that, but I'll save it for the mystery section. The servos and cables were too slow-moving to match the tempo of Brad Dourif's vocal performance, so many scenes were shot at a lower frame rate, with Dourif's playback slowed down. The final footage was then played back at normal speed. In shots where Chucky had more complex movements, they couldn't always hide all the wires and cables, so they had various actors play the doll on oversized forced perspective sets, including veteran suit performer Ed Gale. Editing took care of the transitions from one technique to another. The filmmakers and effects team also went to great lengths to help the main cast interact with the various Chucky puppets, especially Alex Vincent, who would be spending the most time with the doll on camera. This training had an added benefit. The 6-year-old actor wasn't scared of his creepy co-star since he knew what went into his creation and operation. Lucky kid. United Artists didn't give the film an official premiere screening, so Kirshner and Mancini came up with their own plan to generate buzz. They attended multiple showings in secret, screaming and laughing at all the right moments to get the audience fired up. It must have worked because Child's Play was an instant hit, hitting the top of the box office on its opening weekend in November of 1988. The film would go on to gross over $44 million worldwide, off a budget of just $9 million. Chucky was already on his way to pop culture stardom, but I doubt his creators realized at the time how extensive that fame would become. Chucky was suddenly a superstar, appearing not only in multiple sequels, but taking center stage at horror awards shows, appearing in 2 different comic book series, and of course loads of tie-in merchandise. He even got his own live comedy show at Universal Studios' Halloween Horror Nights.
Your birth certificate is just an apology letter from the condom factory. Oh, photo up.
Not all the publicity was good, though. The media went crazy after authorities attempted to link the Child's Play movies to 2 different real-life murders. It turns out that connection was fabricated and likely sensationalized by the press. But it was too late to erase the idea that Chucky was leading kids to act out his homicidal tendencies. But like so many horror titles, home video releases of the Child's Play movies managed to grow a much larger cult following, and a whole new generation of Chucky fans embraced the psycho doll, his equally deranged partner Tiffany, and their gender-fluid offspring Glenn/Glenda. Just goes to show you can't keep an evil doll down, and that's why Kirshner and Mancini were determined to revive the franchise and bring the saga back to its scarier roots. That resulted in 2 well-received sequels, Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. And despite lower budgets and direct-to-video distribution, they gave the franchise a much-needed overhaul. These sequels introduced the character of Nika, played by Brad Dourif's daughter Fiona, who was quickly embraced by fans as part of the franchise canon, and big props to the makeup people that transformed her into her own father's doppelganger for the TV series. Alex Vincent also returns as the adult version of Andy Barclay, and Jennifer Tilly makes a surprising cameo, hinting we'll be seeing more of Tiffany in the future, because of course we will. Although MGM had disowned the franchise early on, they jumped on the remake bandwagon for a new version, this time blending some unused elements of Mancini's original script, including the name Buddy, and removed the supernatural elements, making the doll a homicidal AI. Mark Hamill is excellent, as always, as the voice of Buddy, but the 2019 reboot alienated fans of the original franchise and made them miss the old Chucky even more. Kirshner and Mancini must have made a few blood sacrifices to Damballa because their next incarnation of the franchise was just the ticket. The sci-fi original series Chucky brought many of the original actors and characters back and turned out to be a major hit for the network. Brad and Fiona Dourif returned, of course, and Jennifer Tilly plays both herself and Tiffany in key roles. Alex Vincent has a larger role in the series, accompanied now by Christine Elise, who played Andy's foster sister in Child's Play 2, reteaming with Andy on his quest for vengeance. I won't get into the details of the series plotline because that's the one thing I'm not going to spoil in this episode. It's better you just see the insanity for yourself. When you're dealing with a horror franchise spanning 3.5 decades, 7 feature films, 1 remake, and a TV series, there's enough trivia, rumors, behind-the-scenes anecdotes, and fan theories to fill a 3-hour documentary. But I only have a few minutes here, so I'm narrowing the field to just the first film. It's still a lot to cover, so I've picked out some of my favorite oddities. I had to verify this one because I just couldn't wrap my head around it. But originally, Brad Dourif was only intended to play Charles Lee Ray in human form, and actress Jessica Walter recorded the doll voice of Chucky. Let's just say that didn't go over too well with test audiences. Speaking of voices, the actor who supplies the voice of the unpossessed good guy doll was Eden Gross, who had previously been the official voice of Corky, an interactive doll similar to My Buddy and another inspiration for the good guy design. It might seem like the soul-transferring incantation spoken by Dourif is a bunch of nonsense words, but it's mostly derived from Creole, mixed with some English and maybe a little bit of gibberish. The name Damballa refers to a real figure in Haitian voodoo, a serpent god believed to be the source of all life. Able to assume many forms, Damballa is beyond the concept of good or evil and can be summoned for both.
But he pushed me away and said I'm sick of this Child's Play.
YouTube won't let me play the entire song that was written for the end credits of Child's Play, and for once I'm grateful. But you can pretty much find it anywhere. Just don't say I didn't warn you.
We're friends to the end, remember?
This is the end, friend.
Of course, this is nowhere near the end for Chucky, but alas, it's time to wrap up this episode of Deconstructing. But I'll be returning to the franchise in the near future. While you're here, throw this episode a like and be sure to subscribe for tons more JoBlo horror content. And let me know what Chucky movie you'd like me to deconstruct next. Catch you later.